When you expect the numbers to not be as good as people have been predicting.
Is that what this is about, or do you think this is philosophical?
Well, so the answer that Tim Cook gave on the call was philosophical.
Right.
Sort of gave this bizarre analogy about when you are at the checkout counter, they're not asking you how many items you have. There's a tally, and that's what he's going for. I think the market's reacting to the fact that we're just not going to get that same visibility anymore, which the anticipation is, you know what? The Apple's telling us stop looking at iPhone sales, right? Just look at the number. We're now a services company, which I think that is the most important line item on their balance on their. The
question is, are they a services company yet? That may be the ambition.
That's what they want to be. They're not going to. They're going to hit 50 billion in services sales in the next few years. I think that's a good ambitious target. Services business, which is like their iCloud and the apps and the advertising. Right. Apple Music, that is the more stable line of business in terms of it doesn't do this every quarter.
So here's the philosophical piece of this. As a journalist, as an investor, you want the transparency piece of it. Yet at the same time, we all talk about how we want these companies to be investing on a longer-term basis, to not be so focused on the quarterly number or on the sales number or on this or the that. Are those in conflict? So those two ideas.
I have a different. I know it's the idea of sort of the short-termism that we're concerned about in terms of we're just managing for the quarter, the expectation. I have a slightly different idea. I know instead of reporting once a year or twice a year, as some people have suggested, I think they should report every month. I think the more information we have more frequently, the more you can actually think more longer term about how the business is going to be managed.
This is the antithesis of what Jamie Dimon and others have said with you, Becky. You remember when there was the conversation about
they never
this
said
issue?
The Business Roundtable, Dimon and Buffett have never said that they want fewer reports. They've said people that should stop issuing guidance, because when you don't hit those numbers, it's really hard to hit. But I've gone back and circled back with them. They're not of the opinion that you should be issuing reports every 6 months or longer, because that's not great. It does not add to the transparency.
And also, if you have more,
I think their idea is like, there's no way you can decide what's going to happen 3 months from now, because there's so many things that are out of your control.
The more frequent reports you have, sort of people can do their own guidance in a way. I have more visibility every month as to what you're doing.
So figure it out yourself.
Let's talk about the stock, though, and where it's headed as a result of this. At the moment, it was headed down.
Yep.
I guess the real question is, from a margin situation, long term, do you think this is just a blip along a highway that continues to line up?
I think it's going to be a blip. I think people are going to have to readjust their expectations and sort of go off these numbers now that only the Apple's going to give. That's not the unit sales. It's kind of weird because, we're just going to get channel checks from third parties. We're going to start relying on third-party numbers for what we assume iPhone sales have been quarter to quarter going forward, and that'll sort of determine where the stock goes. So I think it's just weird. I think it's weird that they're not giving that number anymore.
Now we can watch whether Apple's a trillion-dollar company coming from a $1.1 trillion company. Because it's still, it's going to, even with a 5% sell-off today,
think of it
it's
this
at
way.
1 trillion. And
it's
25.
It's just under a trillion, I think. But somebody on the notes said that.
I guess that's what I'm questioning. Is this a discount?
Down 5%.
Is this a discount for But here's the question: is this a discount for transparency, or is this a discount because somebody thinks there's something material going on with this company? I think it's a discount on transparency.
I totally agree. I think it's a transparency issue. I think it's just. I think that's why it's down, because they're like, wait, we're not going to get as much information. This is the thing that we've been trading on, is the iPhone sales, because that's what drives this company.
I think
that's headed for a $1 trillion company just from the other side.
Real quick, other highlights in the report.
Yes. Again, we're talking about trade earlier.
Right.
Greater China region was the slowest growing region in terms of sales. So that's, So tariffs, if they can't get a deal, if tariffs do come into play, that will hurt Apple.
So we've had